If you've ever asked, how do I create a consistent, profitable business when my inventory is always changing and diverse, then this video is for you.
So I'm actually coming from two different angles. And for example, when I was running my advertising business, I started with the end in mind, especially when it came to pricing. I wasn't just pulling numbers on, how much I was going to charge for services out of nowhere. But as an associate marriage and family therapist, I see something much deeper. And that is that underpricing isn't just about the math. So if you price low and then someone's like, no, I'm not going to buy that, and they say no, then you don't take it personal. If you price high and someone says, no way, it feels like a rejection of you. So low prices kind of become like a shield. And from a psychoanalytical lens, your money mindset was likely written before you can even count. If you grew up hearing things like, we can't afford that, money doesn't grow on trees, wealthy people are greedy, your subconscious now views a high price tag as a threat to your moral safety, to your family belonging, to who you think you're allowed to be. And many of us undercharge because we're repeating the script of scarcity. When we adopt a specific identity, like the struggling artist, we aren't just picking a label, we're reinforcing a familiar role. Over time, that role shapes how safe or unsafe certain choices feel. Here's why your brain is doing this, is that it's trying to protect your belonging. For many people, increasing prices can unconsciously register as a social risk. Like if you stay in the role as the hobbyist, you remain aligned with familiar relational and emotional dynamics. Shifting into a more empowered role can activate fears of being perceived as too much, disconnected, or no longer relatable. So this isn't about talent. It's like your mind and your body literally has learned to prioritize relational safety and proximity over expansion. But to move out of these outdated internal working models to more objective business truths, we use the P3 framework. But before we dive in, let me just be a little clear on something. You wouldn't launch like all of your product hobbies at once. This is where we can waste a lot of time and throw away a lot of money. So instead, you choose a focus, but with metamorphosis capabilities. Stay with me here as I explain. This means not only have you found a way to combine your passions into a product, you found a creative solution to a problem, and you went through this whole validation process to choose your starting point.
Okay, so let's say some of your passions include sewing, design, astrology, numerology, and painting. You also are a huge advocate of reducing waste around the world.
And after combining all of those interests and testing demand, you decide to focus on a scrunchy business. And not just any scrunchy business, but a scrunchy business that uses, let's say, recycled material. Maybe it could be recycled material from the ocean.
And I forgot to mention when I was originally recording this, but also dead stock fabric. So if you are into sewing and you haven't heard of dead stock fabric, basically dead stock fabric is the last of what's left of a particular fabric. And usually this fabric is just dumped into landfills.
So here's how the P3 framework helps you price strategically while still honoring your different creative interests. That's pricing for energy, pricing for vision, and pricing by the numbers. So let's just start with pricing for energy. And this is one of the reasons why being a multi-passionate is your superpower. It is not a weakness. And what I love is that there is literally so much research specifically on polymath and portfolio careers that shows your ability to synthesize information from all of these different interests and domains is a competitive advantage. But you and I know that as a multi-passionate person, your energy for a particular interest or project is finite. And that's exactly what makes it valuable. So when it comes to your scrunchy business, instead of treating everything as just general stock, a bunch of different styles, you're going to use a limited edition business model with either seasonal collections or limited drops. So seasonal collections could look like,
let's just say you're listening to your intuition and you're in the flow of painting and using Capricorn colors. And this is something I'm just learning about. So I believe Capricorn is ruled by the planet Saturn. So let's just say you're just in the flow, you're following your intuition, and you're using all these beautiful colors that represent, the rings around Saturn or the planet Saturn, and using Capricorn colors. And you take this original piece of art you're painting and you digitally print this on, let's say, eco-friendly fabrics, and then you sew your scrunchie using that fabric of your digital print inspired by, Saturn and Capricorn. Well, because you're not always going to be inspired by, Saturn and Capricorn or whatever theme you are focusing on, this product is only going to be available for the month of December or for Capricorn days, and there would be no restock options. So that can be an example of a limited edition. Or you can have a drop, which really focuses on a specific release date, which, unlike a limited edition, the drops might be restocked at a later date if popular. But the initial goal of a drop would be to sell out quickly.
And then the following month or quarter, you release something entirely new, depending on whatever creation came to your mind. But it's the same core product, which is scrunchies, but transformed by your different creative interests. And later, once you validated demand and build cash flow, you can expand into accessories or clothing. But here's what this does for your pricing. This allows you to go all in on one design while it lasts, and then move on to the next design without guilt or without burnout. So you're not being flaky, you're being honest about how your creativity works. And from a marketing psychology perspective, this creates genuine scarcity and urgency. Not the fake kind. We're not just trying to market for marketing purposes. We are literally being authentic about the way we are marketing, because we are marketing with an alignment to our personality. So your customers aren't just buying a product, they're buying access to your creative energy while it's focused on a project that they would love. Now, pricing for your energy solves the how to make sense of pricing for various items, but it doesn't give you the exact numbers that you need to make a profit and a living. So before we talk about the numbers, we have to talk about the destination. And that's P2, is pricing for vision. And you want to price for the brand that you're building, not the trauma that you're healing. So when you price based on your past scarcity, you are re-traumatizing your bank account every single month. So here's what I mean when it comes to pricing for vision. You need to paint a picture of your business, let's say 3 years from now. Not a fantasy, but a detailed vision. So you can ask yourself, what does my monthly revenue look like? Where are my products being sold? Is it online, boutiques? Are we doing nationwide? How many hours per week am I actually working? Am I still hand making every single piece, or have I hired help? So let's say your vision is, I want to make $10,000 a month for my scrunchie business. We're not including taxes or anything like that. So let's just make the numbers super easy. So we're saying $10,000 a month. And let's say you're like, okay, I know I want my products to be in boutiques across the United States. I know I want to have an online e-com store. And you want your boutiques all across the nation, and you also want to ship all across the nation from your e-com store. But you also know that you want time to rest, digest, and actually live, not just produce. And let's say you tell yourself, well, okay, I definitely don't see myself sewing 30 scrunchies every single day of the month. So if that's your vision, you must price for your replacement. So basically, you don't want to price from where you are, price for where you want to be. And I talk a little bit more about the power of creating visions in another video, so you can check that out. That's in the link below. But now that you know your destination, let's talk about the numbers that get you there.
Okay, so on the screen, you see I have basically 2 different options. I just titled them manufacturing breakdown and we'll say the artisan breakdown. So you can begin to see with each example how this could look different, not only in the numbers, but in your life. So for example, let's just say in your future vision, you don't see yourself, sewing 30 scrunchies a day. So then we're looking at the manufacturing breakdown. So for the sake of example, I'm using super easy numbers. So let's say you're gonna sell your scrunchie for $30. Now remember, part of your vision is someday being in boutiques, let's say a year or 3 years down the line, then you're gonna wanna consider the price associated with having a boutique purchase some of your scrunchies. And let's just say this is 25% off the top. So let's say we subtract $7.50. And again, that's because obviously we're not gonna sell our scrunchies at $30 a unit when we're selling to a boutique, because they need to make a profit as well. So when you do sell to, let's say, a boutique, they're not paying the full price. I believe they're paying wholesale price. And then you also want to consider packaging. Packaging is going to cost you something, but the cost of packaging per unit could obviously be different. So let's just say every scrunchie you sell, the packaging is $1. So we're subtracting $1 from 30. And then we look at shipping. Let's just say, from your e-com store, you're actually going to cover the shipping. So then let's just round that off to $7. And then you have your platform fees. Just again, for sake of example, let's just say 4% of that goes to the platform fees on your e-com store. So we have $13.30 would be the gross revenue before pre-production. So now we look at, okay, how much does it actually cost to make this scrunchie? And in this case, let's just say a manufacturer costs $1 per unit. So we're going to subtract that from the total of 30. Then let's say all the materials used to make one scrunchie is $2. So we're going to subtract $2 from the total. And then quality control, let's just say, I'll just use 30 cents per unit. If you don't know what quality control is basically someone going in and looking at every single product. In the case of selling scrunchies, this person would, make sure there's no loose threads, that there's no snags, and that every scrunchie is in premium condition. So net profit per unit, if you're selling this scrunchie at $30, is going to be $10. And then you say, okay, well, if I sell $1,000 scrunchie per month, then that brings us to $10,000 a month. So again, this is not also considering taxes. So then if you look at the artisan breakdown, this is the breakdown. If you were the one sewing the scrunchies, you can begin to see a difference in the total net profit. So let's say again, you have the retail price, it's $30 per scrunchie. And let's say with this artisan breakdown, in this other vision, you don't see your scrunchies necessarily being in boutiques. You're not really big on that. You're basically you want to hand make these products and you're going to sell them from your e-com store. So then you're like, okay, well, I don't have to worry about wholesale pricing for the boutiques. And then let's say packaging again, let's just say it's $1 per, packaging with the little scrunchie. So then obviously we would subtract $1 from the total price of 30. And let's just say you are going to cover the shipping fees. So let's just say $8 and you're subtracting 8 from the $30. And then again, we're still subtracting platform fees for your e-com store. So that brings us to gross revenue pre-production is $19.80. Okay, now we look at what it costs to produce the scrunchie. The manufacturing cost, well, you don't have to worry about it because you'll be the one sewing the scrunchies. And then the materials, let's just say it's still $2 per scrunchie. And QC, quality control, you're the one checking the quality of these scrunchies. So this will change that net profit per unit, which would be $17.80. But let's just say you still want to sell 1,000 scrunchies per month, then we have 1,000 times $17.80, which comes out to $17,800 per month. Again, not including taxes. So again, I'm not a mathematician, but I think with these two very simple, generic examples, it gives you an idea of what kind of costs are associated if you're going to go the manufacturing route and you don't want to make 30 scrunchies a day versus, wait a minute, okay, you know what? I don't mind making 30 scrunchies a day and then still coming out with a higher net profit. So, and I think breaking down the numbers is really nice too, because let's just say you want to sew, but you're also like, oh, wait a minute, I had no idea I could sell a scrunchie for $30. I had no idea that these would be the numbers if I sold 1,000 units per month. And maybe you're like, you know what? I don't need $17,000 a month. I'm totally cool with making like 500 scrunchies. So I hope this very general, generic breakdown was helpful for you so that you can just consider, okay, wait, if I actually want to make a profit, I will have to consider other costs associated with not only the production of this scrunchie, but for the vision of your business.
So a high price isn't an insult to your customer. And when you get your targeting and your marketing right, a customer will want to pay you for your creations, for what you're allowing them to actually feel and have. They won't see it as you taking something away from them. They'll see it as you are doing a favor for them. And I think a personal example is, I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right. I think it's Erin Condren, but she's known for the Daily Life Planner. I love those planners. Now, they're a lot more expensive than just your average daily planner that you're gonna get at Target or on Amazon. I love that planner so much. It's like, I can't wait to get that planner in the mail. So when I pay for that planner, I'm like, oh my God, I need you. I want you. You do something for me every time I'm trying to schedule my day. And that's an example of just an amazing brand who got their audience and their marketing right. But if you did realize today that your money script is running your business, or maybe even preventing you from starting a business, then you definitely need to watch my video on secondary gains. And that's in the link below. And basically, a secondary gain is actually a hidden benefit that we get from behaving or acting in a way that really doesn't serve us. But that video will explain a little bit more about what could be keeping you stuck, and then it gives you some journal prompts as well. So definitely check that out in the link below. Like this video if it helped, subscribe if you are a creative entrepreneur, and you'll see me in the next post.